As part of today's challenge, I want you to try to make your own pasta pomodoro sauce. A pomodoro sauce is a light tomato sauce. It's not as heavy as a traditional red pasta sauce or marinara. And a lot of the red pasta sauces or marinaras that you buy from the grocery store already have sugar added to them, even if they don't taste sweet. So, this recipe has none, and I'm going to show you how quick, easy, and delicious it is. So I already have my oil heated here in the saute pan, and I have my diced onions also. So when your oil looks nice and hot and it's flowing easily in the saute pan, you're just going to add in your onions. You can hear it sizzle. Ready to go. You saute them up. And this can take probably about 2 minutes or so. You want them to start to get translucent, and you'll be able to see that color change as they saute in the pan here. And when these are ready, we're going to add the other ingredients. Next will come garlic. Then we'll add in the tomatoes, salt. I like a little heat, so I'm going to add in the red pepper flakes. And then, of course, the pasta. Basil, and you are done. Alright, so this is happening pretty quickly. I think I can add my garlic in already. See how fast this is? It's a good weeknight recipe, or it's even good enough to impress friends on the weekend. So I've got my garlic diced up here, and garlic burns very quickly and easily, so you don't want to add this and walk away. It can take about 30 seconds for it to be ready to be done, or at least moved on to your next step. Just going to mix that in with the onions, combine all these flavors. It's starting to smell good. Now when you can start to smell that strong garlic flavor, that means that you've hit that point right before it starts to burn, so you want to stay on top of it and get to the next step pretty quickly. So, like I said, pretty quick. I'm starting to smell that garlic flavor. So my next step is to add my tomatoes. And I chose to use no salt added diced canned tomatoes. And the reason I'm doing that is because for me right now, it's not tomato season. And tomatoes are the best when they're fresh. So what I did is I just chose to make this an even easier, quicker recipe by using these canned diced no salt added tomatoes. Added them straight to the pan. I drained them before I added them. So this is all the natural juices that were in the can. I'm going to hold on to it because maybe if I need a little extra liquid with the pasta at the end, I can add that. And since they are already a little broken down, since they've been sitting in their own juice, they don't need to saute as long as a fresh tomato would. So if you were doing fresh tomatoes, which if they're in season I highly recommend, but if you are using fresh, you're going to maybe saute for about 5 minutes. The canned, just warm them through. And combine all the flavors, get everything tasting delicious. You can probably let this go a couple of minutes. It doesn't take too long for all of it to kind of come together. Like I said, this is a fast, easy to do weeknight recipe. Alright, so got it all combined here in the saute skillet. This is where I'm going to add just a dash of salt. And you don't need a lot. We don't want to heavily salt this, just to bring out some of the natural flavors. Salt is a flavor enhancer, but not a lot of it. And like I also said, I like a little heat, so I'm going to throw in my red pepper flakes and mix that all up. Get that combined. And I already went ahead and boiled my pasta. Now I chose to use a whole wheat pasta. You can do 100% whole wheat, multi-grain, or the regular white pasta. It's a choice that's up to you and your family. But I like the multi-grain or the whole wheat just because it gives that extra nutritional punch. You get more vitamins, minerals, and some fiber in there, which is great. I'm actually going to add my pasta straight to the sauce and then mix it around in this pan. So here we go. Just add it right in there. And mix that around. So I'm going to combine all the flavors. And remember how I said I reserved some of that tomato juice just in case I wanted a little extra sauciness, a little extra liquid. I can add that tomato juice that I reserved from the tomatoes, but before I drained the pasta, I also reserved some pasta water. Now I like to put a little bit of salt in my pasta water before I boil the pasta. A little bit goes a long way. It really imparts some good flavor into the pasta. So the water that I took out of the pot before I drained the pasta has the pasta starch and that salt, and it will add more flavor to the final dish than if I were just to use some tap water. So I'm going to do a little combination here. I'm going to do a little bit of the pasta water. Not too much, I don't want to water it down. But for a little extra flavor here, I'm also going to add a little bit of the tomato juice. Remember I told you it's no salt added, it's just the juices from those tomatoes. I'm just going to add a little bit. Mix it up. Now if it turns out that you added more liquid than you wanted, you could just leave this on the heat and it'll evaporate some of the liquid. But I like to have a little bit of that liquid with my pasta. Mix it all together. And like I said, this is really just a quick recipe where you just heat things through, get them sauteed down just a little bit to start bringing out their flavors. And the last ingredient is fresh basil. I think it's really important to use fresh basil for this step. And what I've done is I've plucked all the basil and I've actually layered them on top of each other. So I kind of sandwiched all the leaves on top of each other because I think this is really easy to cut it this way. What I'm going to do is roll it. I'm going to roll it up like a rug. So you can see it's like a little rolled rug now. And I'm going to cut it this way so that I come up with little strands. And you don't want to cut the basil early because after it's cut it can start to brown. So you want to save this part for the very end. And like I said, I think the fresh really is an important component. It gives a really bright, crisp flavor. So I'm just going to add all these little strands of basil now. And you don't want to cook the basil very long because that too can change some of the color. So leaving it bright and green is really attractive in this dish. So I'm going to turn the heat off, mix in that basil just a little bit, toss it up, and you're ready to go. Let's add it to the dish here. And a homemade, delicious, no sugar added pasta Pomodoro sauce ready for you and the family at your table. Enjoy.